What if Deku was the god of creation? Part 1. Now, we start this what if off with the birth of Izuku Midoriya. He was born to Inko Midoriya and Hisashi Midoriya. At the age of 4, he would walk into the quirk doctor's office with both of his parents, to which the quirk doctor would look down at Izuku, telling them that he has not been blessed with a quirk, and rather cursed with the knowledge of being quirkless, the absence of a power within him. Izuku would just sit there, just couldn't believe it. He always wanted to be a hero, and now that the doctor told him he was quirkless, his dreams were just shattered right there, as Izuku would just sit there, unknowingly just crying, tears just coming right out of his eyes. He was devastated by the news that he was quirkless. Inko would drive Izuku home, bickering with Hisashi back and forth about what they should do with Izuku. Hisashi wanted to throw him in an orphanage, saying that he was a disgrace of humankind being quirkless, while Izuku would just be sitting there in the back of their car, listening to his mother argue with Hisashi about why they should keep Izuku in the family. This would just break Izuku from the inside out. He couldn't show it to his parents, but it just broke him. His parents arguing whether they should just dump him out like a piece of trash, or keep him like he's an object, like a toy. This just shattered Izuku's heart from there. Izuku would go to school the next day, as he would look over to see his classmate Bakugo Katsuki, otherwise his best friend at the time, who had just awakened his quirk, an explosion quirk, as tiny little pops and crackles would explode off of Bakugo's hands. Bakugo would look over at Izuku, asking him what his quirk was, with Izuku just looking down, saying that he said he was quirkless. Bakugo would then start laughing at Izuku, saying, "Ha! A quirkless person? Your name should be Deku! That means useless! You're just a Deku!" Izuku would sit down in the corner crying, as all of his classmates would be pointing at him, laughing, chanting, "Deku, Deku." And now a quick ad break.
Are you interested in buying yourself some My Hero Academia merch? Some amazing hoodies, shirts with your favorite character on it? From Izuku Midoriya to Shoto Todoroki, Bakugo Katsuki, and Himiko Toga. Go click the link in my description box now and get some awesome discounts from 17% up to 48% off. They offer you free shipping as well. So, what are you waiting for? Link in the description.
Now that the ad is over, we can get back into this what if. Izuku, from the next 6 years onward, would just be bullied relentlessly. No one gave Izuku pity or mercy. They all just treated him like he was a piece of trash, coming back to the time when he was 4, with his parents bickering if they should throw him out or not. This just devastated Izuku. He was just a shell of nothing. He was always happy around his parents, just trying to not show them what he had become. Just a husk of nothing. His emotions were gone because of how much bullying he went through. One day, though, he would be walking home as he would see a fire, a huge fire in the direction of his apartment building. He would rush over to it to see his entire apartment building just up in a blaze. He would rush past all the police and firefighters and go straight up to his apartment. The heroes would try to stop him, but it was no use. Izuku would get up to there and break down the door as he would walk in, yelling for his mother's name. His mother always treated him with kindness and respect, and always told him he could still be a hero. His father, on the other hand, was very abusive towards him and just overall hated him. So Izuku grew very attached to his mother. He couldn't lose her. He ran into her room, smashing down the smoldering door, burning himself on the way, as he would get on his knees to see his mother just laying on her deathbed. "Mom!" Izuku would yell, as Inko would choke out Izuku. Izuku would just stare down at his mother, saying, "What the hell did that bastard do to you?" Inko would look up at Izuku, touching his face, just saying, "It's fine, Izuku. Just live on our legacy." As Izuku would feel Inko's skin become cold, as her head would just drop down lifeless, as a very bright light would shine right where Inko's dead body was, as some type of weird explosion would happen, as Izuku would slam back into the wall behind him, coming unconscious. From there, he would wake up under a massive tree. "What the heck?" Izuku would say, looking up at the tree, as he would look over and see a reporter just staring at the tree in confusion. "Standing here today, we were at the site of an apartment fire that burned to the ground. Sometime within 2 to 3 a.m. last night, this massive tree just sprouted out of nowhere. Could this be the work of a Quirk, or maybe a villain's Quirk? We don't know, but it's best to stay away from it. It's bigger than any tree in the world. At least that's what scientists are saying. That's why they're saying it's the work of some type of Quirk. We just aren't sure yet." Izuku would stand up from the tree, looking up at it, and would then walk away from it. He was now homeless. We cut 2 years later, as Izuku would walk down the street, just remembering the place he was at. His old apartment building, at least what was remaining of it. He would see a reporter standing outside of it, as it had just been the 2-year anniversary since that apartment fire happened. As the reporter would then start to talk. "Standing here today, it is 2 years since this massive tree has sprouted up out of nowhere, out of the ground. However, scientists are saying it's the work of a god. It's insane. It is said if you go near it and just touch one of its leaves or its bark, any illness you've ever had would just disappear. However, it is said if you break any part of the tree, you will be just cursed with eternal fire and hell." Izuku would continue walking, just kind of laughing to himself, chuckling quietly. "Can't believe all this time that tree was just the work of power that I had. It's a blessing and a curse. I'm the god of creation. Ever since then, I've never been able to find a house, just being a homeless kid roaming the streets. I can recall people kicking me and looking at disgust seeing this random kid begging for food. I can feel the hunger, but it doesn't affect me. I'd look like I was a starving child, but I never do, because it doesn't affect my looks, only the pain it gives me." Izuku would say this as another 2 years would pass with Izuku roaming the streets. He would end up just having enough of it, and after a while would end up collapsing in this dirt field. Little did he know that would probably be one of the best moments of his life, as tons of animals would come together near him and would start just sitting there keeping him warm, as it was just about starting fall and it was getting very cold. It was the start of a school year. Izuku's powers activated growing grass around him to also try to keep warmth to him, as a certain class would end up walking down to that same dirt patch to see this. "Mr. Aizawa, there's someone laying out in the field. At least that's what it looks like. There's a ton of animals and grass over there." Aizawa would just walk up to it to see a bunch of animals around it, including such as a bear, a hawk, and a wolf. All of them just growling or squawking at Aizawa to signify to stay away. Aizawa would inch closer to the body and would start to shake it and feel to see if it was dead, checking for a pulse to see that it was alive. Izuku would then sit up, groaning as he had a massive headache. Oh, where the hell am I? Izuku would say, looking over and around to see a bunch of people standing around him, looking down at him, as Izuku would stand up and would ask the person, "Do you have any idea where I am? And who are you guys?" Aizawa would then look at Izuku, saying, "That's exactly what we should ask you. Who are you?" Izuku just would say, "My name's Izuku." "Don't you have a last name?" Aizawa would say, with Izuku shaking his head, saying that his father has the last name of Midoriya, and he was such a bad person he doesn't want to take that name. Aizawa would nod his head, just saying, "I guess that's understandable. Alright, Ida, take this kid to the principal's office while I teach these. Aren't you afraid of me just missing information and not learning, sir?" Aizawa would shake his head, demanding Ida to take Izuku up to the principal's office, to which he would. Izuku would be sitting in the principal's office with Ida walking back down to the dirt field, as Nezu would start to ask Izuku questions. "So, where do you live?" Izuku says, "Nowhere. I guess the streets, if you could say that." "Do you have any parents?" "Not since I was 10. My mom died in an apartment fire." Nezu would get intrigued by this, as he would say, "What fire?" He would say, "The same apartment fire where the Tree of Life is." Nezu would nod, saying, "Do you know what could have caused that?" As Izuku points to himself, saying he was the cause for that random tree to just sprout up out of nowhere. Nezu would get confused and would chuckle a little bit and say, "Yeah, right, stop lying. Nobody has that much of a powerful quirk to heal any illness that somebody would have." Izuku would just say, "That's exactly the point. It's not a quirk. It's a stupid power I was cursed with. I'm technically the god of creation now. I'm pretty much immortal. But it does come with extreme downsides, I'd say." Nezu would just nod nervously, seeing as a god was in front of him. At least that's what he'd think. Izuku talked with such confidence and just spoke truth. Nezu couldn't sense a hint of a lie within Izuku's just conversation with him, so Nezu would think Izuku is actually speaking the truth. So Izuku would then just be asked more questions and would ask if Izuku wanted to become a hero. Nezu didn't want to let Izuku's extremely powerful power go to waste, and he thought if Izuku became a hero, he will most definitely become one of the most powerful ones at that. Izuku would just nod his head, saying, "I guess I can become a hero. I've always wanted to be one. Just kind of forgot about it after 4 years living on the streets." Nezu would just nod his head, saying, "Yeah, that is quite a tough life for a 10-year-old. Well, I guess we can take you in here at UA. I'll just have to get one of our teachers to build dormitories." Izuku would just say, "Alright, it's cool. I guess I'll be in a class with you then. Or with whoever those students were, right?" Nezu would say, "Yeah, but you gotta take a test first on your smarts and your abilities." Izuku would just nod his head, saying, "Okay." Izuku would then be placed in a room and given a test, to which Izuku would do pretty average on it. He wasn't smart, but he wasn't dumb either. Izuku would also then be told that he has to do some type of test to see what his strength is. Izuku would just look at Nezu, saying, "Okay," as they would place him in a city and would put down this huge robot with a red painted zero on its face. Izuku would get confused with Nezu coming over the intercom, telling Izuku that he has to destroy it. Izuku would nod his head, just saying, alright, guess this shouldn't be too hard, as he would run right at the robot and would jump, as a hawk would come out of nowhere as Izuku would grab its leg, and it would then drop itself off on the top of the robot, as Izuku would slam his hand down on the robot, as he would then just be seen sitting there with his hand on top of it, as the robot would then just explode with vines and just tree bark coming out of it, as if some type of tree was growing inside of it, as roots would come around the robot's arms and just destroy it from the inside. It was quite insane. Izuku would then just jump off as the robot would collapse, just destroyed, with Izuku would then be told that he had got into UA. And that's where I'm going to leave part 1 off. I thank you all for watching, and yeah, goodbye.